had some of Maxwell's, and a while back I had some of Bartholomew's, and then Sue Ann's from Thistle's, her meads. Hamish brought little 1 ounce pours of like 15, which was super cool when he came out to Florida.
Wow.
So we spent a couple of nights doing 5 at a time. And it was like, even at 1 ounce, you'd think 1 ounce each between 3 of us, me and him and Bruce were sharing it. And it wouldn't seem like much, but yeah, that stuff packed a bit of a wallop. It was pretty good. But
we were still recovering from the cup too.
Well, there was that, yeah. Well, maybe you were. I didn't have all that much to drink. I was just tired.
Mazer cup hangover.
Uh-huh. But it was just the honeys. I mean, all the ones that I've had, the honeys are so unique to me. You know, I mean, because it's not something we have anything like that here. It's completely, different. And to me, that makes it exotic and interesting. And all the ones I've tasted so far, they've all been pretty good. I haven't had any that were like real dogs that just like, don't want to drink that anymore. I haven't had any of those. I've had a few that were kind of simple and plain, but nothing that was bad.
Yeah. So it's a funny. We've got a good range of meads and brewers out here, so they're not all on the traditional high alc side, or they don't all just do a low alc one. There's all a good range. It means people get to try everything.
Yeah. And from what I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, most of the meaderies so far are clustered primarily over on Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria area, right? Is there anything over in South Australia and the Northern Territory, or over in Western Australia, or around Perth maybe, or something? Or Adelaide?
Well, there's Thistle in South Australia, and there's Bartholomew's and Erosion in Perth.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about the NT. Is there anything you know of in the NTs?
I don't think so.
I haven't. No.
Not a lot of people, though.
I was just going to say, I'm
looking
at a map of Australia just to make sure that I get my place names right, and I see exactly 2 towns, Darwin and Alice Springs. It's like, and it's like,
most
that's
people
it?
in Australia, we live on the east.
And hello to all our listeners in the NT.
Yeah, right. I didn't realize it was sparsely populated like that. I don't really think about it. I think of you guys clustering around the coast, which seems like mostly you do, and and then beyond that, I just never really, I don't know, never really thought about it too much. It's like how many people there really were up there, or whatever.
Well, there's less than 1 million.
Okay.
In the whole of the Northern Territory, probably more like about 700,000 or 800,000.
Well, that kind of sounds like some of our less like Montana or Wyoming. Not a ton of people there. Pretty wide open spaces.
Exactly.
Awful lot of desert.
Yeah. We have our share of that too. Yeah. Unfortunately, we tend to build cities in the middle of them, but that's just us. We do stupid stuff like that. But I never understood that. It's like you're complaining you have no water. You're in the middle of a desert, right? Yeah. It's like, go where the water is.
Go find a river, dummy. Yeah. Oh, no, wait, you're poisoning them, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, there's Kirby where everyone lives underground.
Well,
yeah.
At least it'd be cooler.
Yeah,
well,
that's
the
precisely
point.
why it's done.
Yeah.
It's too
and
hot
it was
to
sort of
live
convenient.
around.
It was a
I don't know if they
mining
could get
town,
away
maybe
with that
had
in
to
a couple of places. Or you do that in Vegas, and like it's not, the whole thing would collapse on your head, I mean...
Yeah.
And besides, you'd have all these people trailing their
a-
fingers in the walls and stuff, and they just wear it out, and then the whole thing would collapse on your head. So, yeah, that would be just bad.
This is true. Or we just mine it.
Yeah.
Hey, I just have a question for you, Steve. When you're looking at ingredients and yeasts and nutrients and things, I mean, as a beginner, I'm finding it's really hard to get the things that everyone talks about online. People like getting into bombs and using different fermented products and different yeasts, and I go out and it's either really expensive or I literally just can't get it. I think it's Fermaid K. You can't buy it because it's not legal. How did you get around that question? Did you just make your own way? Did you find alternatives?
I spent a lot of time on Dr. Google, finding who were the importers and suppliers in Australia, particularly for the Lalvin products. So I use Fermaid AT instead of Fermaid K or Fermaid O, and find that does really well in the staggered nutrients. And I use GoFirm Protect Evolution for our rehydration. But yeah, we found the Lallymon distributors.
Which you can get.
Which you can get all of that in Australia. You're lucky they all come through. Winequip is now the distributor for these guys.
Yeah, who are actually just down the road from us, Anne.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm going to check them out. They're lovely.
So why can't you use Fermaid K? I understand it's illegal, but do you know why?
There's an ingredient in it.
I would suggest it's the vitamin B quantities or something along those lines.
Yeah, I figured it was some ingredient that wasn't copacetic with Australian agricultural law or something, but I just was curious which one. It's just interesting.
Well, you have issues with the amount of Fermaid K you can put in. Mm-hmm. We might just blanket ban the one ingredient that's causing you to limit the amount you're allowed to use.
Oh, okay. Just a different way of looking at things then.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That was my guess anyway.
Well, what are some of the things, Anne, you were saying earlier that, you pretty much have to change so many things. So I'm curious to find what sort of substitutions or alternatives do you guys have to the things that we take for granted because, I don't know, I guess just because they're available here.
Well, probably the best example is the first proper mead, first non-JO mead I've made. I've used Oscar's You Blew My Berries. And the blueberries are different here. Like you guys are talking about these tiny little wild ones. I don't know what you're talking about. I think Hamish
ours are big fat
might have encountered them at some point.
Yeah. Ours are big fat ones.
So the big fat ones.
Yeah.
And they taste earthy.
Oh.
They're different. They're not a different species, but they grow where they grow, and they're a big bushy berry. And then the honey, you can go with to match it. You don't want to use a fruity light something. It just didn't seem right, so I've gone with one that's half sort of a bush wildflower, I guess. The yeast I found online, but I had to ship it, so I find I do spend more on yeast than probably you guys would need to. And then the yeast nutrients that he called for couldn't find, so I spent a couple of days on Google, much like Steve's talking about, going, all right, well, I can't find this. I've shopped for it here, I've shopped for it there, nobody's got it. Oh, it's illegal. Okay. What is this thing called? Tosner. All right. And then I had to work out Tosner for myself. But that's a really good way to learn too.
Yeah.
I think I've been doing Tosner for a very long time in that I use K1V yeast and boiled K1V yeast. And that's it. That's my only nutrient.
Really?
Yeah,
and
yeast hulls,
so that's
basically.
as organic as you can get, and yeah, that's how well. Yeah, that's the one that won the spice section in the Mesa Cups. So that's all I was doing there.
Okay, so for a total new beginner, because this strangely is really hard to find on the web, when you're talking about boiling yeast, do you mean like how much water do you add to it, and do you just put in a little bit with the yeast and boil it enough to kill it?
Yeah. Yeah, I get a cup. I put 3 tablespoons of yeast or something along those lines in there. I fill it till it's like not thick pasty. It's got to be a little bit liquid, and then I put it in the microwave for a minute, and it boils.
And how long can you keep that?
Oh, that then goes straight into the mix. Into
so
the
you do
mass.
it every time.
Yeah. But then I have about 10 kilos of K1B yeast in the fridge, so if you buy it in 500-gram bags, it's by the time you look at your 5-gram sachets, then you can afford to like throw away 2/3 of it, and you're breaking even. So you can afford to use it as yeast nutrient. Damn this, Joe.
That's an important point, Hamish, because so many people underpitch because they don't want to spend the money on yeast. But yeast is probably the cheapest component of all. You know, we look at it, and for our commercial batches, we're probably pitching $4 worth of yeast, and yet we continually get asked, "Do you reuse your yeast?" I was like, "Well, why would you? It's only $4 or so worth of yeast, in a big batch."
Yeah.
Well, if you were using something like a smack pack, those are like $10 a package, so that might be where the questions are coming from, especially if it's being asked by people who make beer using that type of yeast.
I was just going to say, beer people are really big on reusing their yeast cakes. That's a beer habit, and I'm not sure why it's a beer habit.
$10 for a batch, and especially when it's a smack pack and you have to make a starter out of it to begin with. I don't blame people for wanting to reuse their yeast in that case.
Yeah, I guess not.
And that's for a 5-gallon batch.
So, yeah, I went straight to Mead, and and I always wondered about that because I was like, no, I pitch my yeast and I rack off my yeast and I rinse out the carboy and start over.
So batch. when you I sometimes use it to bake with, which makes an interesting sourdough bread. But moving away, where never mind.
We do a saison base for one of our braggots, and we do the same thing. The yeast we use for the saison makes a really nice bread. Gives a nice little Belgian estery flavour to it.
Yeah, but I like that idea of turning it into something else. That's just, reutilizing, doing something interesting with it. I know other people that use it to feed chickens, and and it's used yeast, especially from big breweries and wineries. They will often sell their slurry, what's left over, to farmers, and they feed it to cows and pigs, and and so it's.
Well, they make Vegemite.
They make Vegemite.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why we're laughing is that Hamish has been teasing me about Vegemite for ages, and I told him I didn't like it, so he brought a jar. Well, actually, Bruce brought a jar over with him, and we had it on bagels while they were with us in Florida, and I actually liked it. So I can't really bag on Vegemite anymore because it was kind of good, But I got a lot of mileage out of the teasing until then.
On the reuse thing, that jar of strawberry jam I gave you was made from Yo's strawberry pizzazz leftovers.
Ah.
Vicky.
I'm sorry. I was checking the drum. Yeah, checking the feed. Yes, that's what I was doing.
Oh, look at distraction.
Yeah, no. I was answering David and watching the feed at the same time, so it went right over my head. So I'm sorry. Would you please repeat that?
Yeah, that strawberry jam that I gave you was made from leftover Yo's strawberry pizzazz.
That was good.
Yeah, and that was all left over from the batch. So
okay, I had some in the trailer, and now that you've reminded me, I think it's still in the fridge out there. So I'm going to go fetch that in, and I know what I'm having for breakfast in the morning. Yeah, maybe some Vegemite too. I don't know. We'll see.
With the no.
Vegemite and jam.
Vegemite and jam.
Not on the same piece of toast, y'all.
Vegemite and peanut butter.
Yeah, it's not peanut butter.
Is it good with peanut butter?
Peanut butter.
Oh, okay, I got a big jar of peanut butter.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do one piece of toast with butter and the strawberry jam, and one piece of toast with Vegemite and peanut butter. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Yeah. Odd, but
You'll have to write a full
yeah.
report on it for those of us who weren't attending the tasting.
Yes.
Sounds like more like late night food.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? That might be a snack after the show, actually. I usually end up having some kind of a snack after the show. So I don't like Nutella. David's going, Nutella is good. I'm like, yeah, I don't like
Yeah.
Nutella. It's ucky. Yeah, sorry. It's just not. It's not that Nutella itself is ucky.
Yeah,
I'm